Hi, and welcome to 647 stories for 7 a.m. because there is absolutely a famine of truth in our land. And this is your quick news fix. And the truth starts now. Well, you know what? Last Friday was just the whole deal as far as I was concerned. That's the kickoff to, I don't even know how long this is going to be. So it's hard to shrink it back down to a 647, but let's go. Update on the Texas floods. They've got it down now to just 3 people still missing, down from 160 on July 4th. So 116 killed, 36 of them were kids. Many of the missing have been verified as safe. Over 1,000 local, state, and federal authorities worked nonstop for 2.5 weeks to get this all worked out, and it's still not finished. There were vacation cabins and campgrounds and youth camps lining the shores and rivers and creeks of Kerr County. And Camp Mystic had 750 campers and lost 27 along with their director. $39.2 million has been raised to support flood victims. God bless these people. All right, take 2. A Delta pilot narrowly avoids a midair collision with a B-52 on Saturday night over North Dakota. Saturday night, man, a Delta Embraer E-175 jet en route from Minneapolis-St. Paul to Minot International Airport in North Dakota narrowly missed colliding with a B-52 Stratofortress from Minot Air Force Base. The SkyWest Airlines pilot made an aggressive series of sharp turns to avoid colliding with the B-52. The pilot got on the intercom to say to his passengers, "Sorry, everybody, I'll explain everything when we land safely." The B-52 from the 5th Bomber Wing was on approach to the Air Force Base, an approach that intersected the approach of the Delta flight to Minot International Airport. Needless to say, an investigation is underway. Good job to that Delta pilot saving the day. All right, take 3. Say who? Last Friday, Trump rejected the U.S. involvement in the World Health Organization agreement, which would give the WHO the control over all governments during health emergencies, because they did so well the last time, right? So Bobby Kay said, "We will put Americans first in all our actions, and we will not tolerate international policies that infringe on American speech, privacy, or personal liberties. We will never allow any entity to interfere with our national sovereign right to make health policy." Remember this: during the upcoming trials of the Biden-Obama-Fauci cabal, and lend your voice to throwing the United Nations out of the U.S. this year. This was all about them promoting Marxist authoritarian overreach and using public health policy to force mandated treatments without consent. Never again, folks. Never again. All right. Merrick the Marsupial Garland, Biden's AG. This is another guy. Get ready for the cuffs, dude. The Department of Justice under Garland could investigate and criminally charge parents of school children for protesting policy having to do with COVID shots and masks, transgender enforcement, and critical race theory and DEI hiring. Garland mobilized the full force of the Department of Justice authority to silence all dissent. Garland directed the FBI under Chris Wray to investigate parents in an official directive penned on October 4th, 2021. Remember this, when they put the cuffs on the marsupial and he plays crying grandpa. All right? And I want you to remember something else. While all this was going on, Garland's son-in-law owns a company that sells CRT teaching materials to, count them, 23,000 schools in the U.S., while Garland was cracking down on opposition to CRT. You see how this works? You see why the Dems all wanted him on the Supreme Court? Because he has such a sense of justice and fair play. This guy needs to be in jail, okay? We're talking a racist, evil Gramps. Book him, Dano Bongino. All right, take 5. Dismantle the deep state and take stolen assets for reparations of patriots destroyed by the Marxist left. So Tulsi was all over the place this weekend, and because she was the only person with enough spine and enough cojones to take the heat and draw all the fire, now the Republicans in Congress finally grew a pair when Tulsi stepped up and showed real courage that they never have. Now that she's drawing all the fire on point, they are willing to poke their heads out of the foxholes and say, oh, this was bad. You know what? They knew all along about this treasonous coup, and they just stayed back in the shadows and watched it and read the manufactured intel and did nothing. But they were all in at the uniparty buffet. Mitch, the China's bitch, all you can eat, right? That's what they were doing. But Tulsi finally showed us some real heroism. They all knew but were too intimidated to speak up. And the blame for that is the Rhino Senate. A forensic accounting of the entire body would be a nice start. All right. This is double six today, as in 66, as in the new logo for 647. So check it out at Trust and Obey with Chuck Frank. Just hit those 3 lines. I don't know. A lot of the vets call that the cheeseburger over there, the 3 lines in the upper right corner. You hit that, you get the index, you go to 647, and you see the new logo. Trump is telling the NFL franchise in D.C. that he will block the building of the new stadium unless they change the name of the team back to the Washington Redskins. You gotta love the orange roughie. So they need to lose that lame PC irony, the Washington Commanders. How about the Washington Rock Marmots? Know what those are? They live in colonies and are known for their tight social interactions and alarm calls. It's going to be the Washington Indians, trust me. And speaking of alarm calls, wow, last Friday morning, 8:32 a.m., Florida Highway Patrol called to chase a guy on State Route 589 in Citrus County last Friday morning. what was going on. At 8:52, troopers made contact with a man driving erratically on the highway on a Gravely pro-turn 252 zero-turn circumference riding mower, redlining the 27 horsepower Kawasaki motor with the needle buried at 13 miles per hour and weaving from lane to lane. They eventually coaxed the driver, Chris Spain, onto the shoulder of the southbound lane. They attempted to do a horizontal gaze nystagmus test, but Chris was no fool. He refused, as any guy riding an $11,000 lawnmower would have to. Officers observed Chris's small pupils, flushed skin, extremely dry mouth, and visibly irritated nostrils, along with a thin blue straw in his back pocket. He was arrested and charged with misdemeanor DUI and released on $500 bail. Now, that's not a bad start to the Friday. We're looking, though, for harsher sentences for the O'Biden circus. Okay? So it's Monday. We're kicking it off. It's going to be a great week. It's going to be a great week for all of the news. Tulsi's releasing more documents. That means all kinds of whistleblowers are going to be coming forward, and this whole thing is going to start to shake, rattle, and roll. So we want you to shake, rattle, and roll 647 by liking us, sharing us, make comments, and share us with your friends. But the most important thing is get this week off to a rip-roaring start, and God bless you. All right, let's go.